On TikTok, men are trash. On dating apps, you rate them like you would a handbag. And podcasts tell you to outgame them before they ghost you. Even slogans say the future is female. But here's the truth. Men aren't the enemy. Hi, I'm Tracy, and this is The Tracy Marshall Show. Here's the message our culture keeps promoting, from sex advice podcast to the Barbie movie. Men are either predators or they're a punchline. And then there's self-help books that basically tell you the same thing, that you need to get men out of the way so you can realize your true self. And dating apps turn finding a good man into some sort of weird combative sport. But stop for a minute and ask yourself, if men are so unimportant, why do families collapse when they disappear? And why do communities get weaker when men check out? The problem isn't the men. The problem is contempt. Think about how our culture belittles men. I mean, it's all over the television screen. You know, you've seen it. The dad can't change the diaper. The husband ruins the family budget. And it's in countless commercials. The man is some goofus who ruins everything until the woman swoops in to fix it with a giant eye roll. It's supposed to be funny, but the repetition trains us like to be contemptuous. Think about who we grew up with. Like, it was a lot of fun at the time, you know, Homer Simpson, or think Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, or Michael Scott from The Office, right? They were hilarious. But when you make every man a punchline, men stop taking responsibility. And honestly, women stop expecting them to. And then there's advice culture. There's this new T app that allows women to rate men. They give them, I don't know, red flags or green flags. It feels like just commodified gossip to me, and completely unfair to the men, right? Because they can't give any context or provide any defense. It's supposed to fuel safety, but I really think it just makes everyone paranoid, men and women. And what about all the man-hating podcasts out there? In addition to Call Her Daddy, there's one called A Girl's Gotta Eat, and another one called The Men We Effed. Yeah, they brag about getting the best of men. They mock them physically, treat them like trash, and tell women to treat relationships like some sort of combat sport. It leaves women jaded, discouraged, and men completely dismissed. And even our so-called self-help gurus, think like Glennon, Doyle, and her like, they often treat men like an obstacle that you have to either tolerate or get rid of to find your true self and your calling, supposedly. And since HBO just recently canceled the latest reboot of Sex in the City, people have been sort of rethinking the star, Carrie Bradshaw. And you know, she was super glamorous, right? But the main thing about that show was the toxic way they treated men. Carrie cheated on Aiden with Big, and we still treated her like the heroine. No flaws at all for that. And then there was Samantha, who, you know, cycled through boy toys like she would disposable cups. If the genders had been reversed, there would have been incredible outcry, and the show probably would have been canceled. But since it was women doing the disrespecting and the using, we glamorized it and called it liberation. But here's the sad irony. While women are sneering, men are actually struggling. Fewer men are going to college. I think it's something like 55% enroll after high school, compared to about 70% for women. And that means a lot more women are graduating from college and from graduate school than men. Look, college isn't for everyone. I've said that before. But as that plays out over time, it could have some really negative consequences for our society and our culture. And on top of that, loneliness is spiking for young men. A recent Gallup poll found that nearly 25% of young men between 18 and 35 described themselves as feeling lonely a lot the day before. And that was compared to only 18% of women in the same age group. That makes young men the loneliest demographic in the Western world. And worst of all, when no one tells young men that they're needed, they start to believe they're not. That's why millions of boys are gravitating to the despicable Andrew Tate, because he does tell them that they're still needed. But before we go any further, if you're tired of hearing that men are trash, hit subscribe, because cynicism doesn't make you any stronger. It just slowly breaks your heart. Let's build something better together. So why does all this cynicism have an appeal to women? Well, let's be honest. A lot of women have been hurt. They've had a father who was absent or who left them. They've had a husband who betrayed them, or a boyfriend who would just never step up to the plate. So cynicism can become like an armor that's supposed to protect you, but you don't become safer. You really just become lonelier. And when TikTok tells young girls to take a hot girl walk and no men are allowed, is that really empowerment, or is that just putting a pretty face on being alone? And why, in movies, do we act like every wife should be super embittered? I don't know, think like Amy Dunn in Gone Girl or First Wives Club? Or how about Beyonce smashing in car windshields with a baseball bat? Do we ever ask if all that that bitterness is justified? The alternative is cooperation, not combat. But there's a better way. Men and women were never designed to be rivals. It says it flat out in the book of Genesis. It's not good for man to be alone. And the truth is, it's not good for woman to be alone either. Families need fathers, and marriages need respect and love. It's like the fuel that keeps the fire going. And it's not just theory. Despite their recent controversy, Chip and Joanna Gaines have had long-lasting success. He builds, she designs, and they're both all in. And I love the example of Denzel Washington and his wife Pauletta. They both publicly credit their mutual respect and their cooperation, their teamwork for their career success and their marriage success. That's how it should be. Cooperation, not combat. You can build something bigger together. It's synergy. It's more than even doubling the strength. So what does this look like practically? How do we play this out in real life? Let's start with dating. In dating, don't treat men like they're guilty until proven innocent. And look for more than charm and fading good looks. Give it time and look at their character. And when it comes to marriage, don't undermine your husband. Respect is actually what fuels him. There's an old saying that goes, whether you treat your husband like a king or a clown, it'll become true. In parenting, raise boys as future protectors. Don't treat them like problems waiting to happen. From the time my son was a toddler, every time Billy and I would leave the house, Billy would look at him and tell him his job was to protect his sisters. I mean, it was kind of comical when they were like 2, 4, 6, and 8, but I think it sank in and actually impacted him. One time he could hear a woman getting beaten in a nearby apartment, and he stepped in a situation with complete strangers, not knowing whether the man was armed or not, but he stepped in and stopped that guy from hurting the woman until the police could show up. Yeah, proud mom here. And at work, knock off the so-called battle of the sexes. Teams get stronger when both men and women are at the table. And I promise you, if you act overly suspicious or overly judgmental of the men in your office, they'll start to avoid you, and the effect will be that you've hamstrung your own career. And when it comes to culture, ditch the slogans. This whole, the future is female, that's half a sentence. The truth is, the future is families. So no, we don't hate men. We honor them and respect them. We need them, and they need us. This isn't some game where the win is one gender conquering the other. The win is men and women working together, walking side by side, and building stronger families and better communities. And hey, if this spoke to you and you're interested in men and women not competing, but actually working together to build healthy, not toxic relationships, check out our recent episode called The Cult of the Cool Girl.